Okay, so welcome, welcome. It's so great to have you as my first guest on this women's podcast series that I'm doing. So welcome, Maria. And maybe to get us going, we could maybe start by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first, thank you so much. I am like super, super excited to be a first guest, and I believe this is such a powerful series, and many women need this support, information. So I'm super excited to be here. So thanks for having me. So my name is Maria Cherkasskaya. I'm a business and mindset coach. So what does it mean is I work first with business owners and I help with the marketing, branding, social media. So what I truly believe that when you run a business, it's already hard. So you want to make sure that you build a business on your own terms, you have aligned business, and as well as it's profitable, right? So we want to pretty much enjoy what we're doing and then get paid for that. So that's kind of the idea. I do my self coaching. I also have marketing agency and have my own team that helps with the content, with the paid ads. So this is one side of me because I'm very multi-passionate. So this is business, and then a second part. Oops, I touching my.
That's okay.
This is my Slavic nature that I like to use. So, and my second part is more mindset, manifestation. I help to help you to gain clarity what you want in life, help you to break through some of the limiting beliefs and come up with support you with your action plan and hold you accountable. So I have a small community about that, and I do events, I do offline master classes, workshop as well as online, and that's pretty much how we met and we connected.
Yeah, and yes, and that was I've been encouraged to sort of get out and do more networking, and so that was one of my first networking events actually, and met a great group of women that you brought together, and really loved sort of the questions. You had these questions as well that we had to think about as prompts, right? Because I think when you tell someone to kind of think or just it's hard to sort of, okay, what am I thinking? But you gave these great prompts to sort of very much, which were very targeted and really kind of helped us to sit with ourselves for that moment. And then we were breaking up into little groups, which kept, we had to keep changing and meeting new people and exchanging ideas, which was great. And actually, funny enough, as we were discussing sort of the genesis of this idea to have, the women's podcast series came through your event, which is so interesting, right? Because which is, I think, part of I'm not sure, maybe the mission or part of the objective of bringing women together, right? Is that when we come together and we talk and we discuss like ideas, we create them, through connection, I think, because that's how that happened for me, right? It was through chatting, and I was thinking, you know what, all these great women, and I was inspired by you, and I thought, oh, you know what, I think it would be great to have a chat, like have, within the podcast and talk about what other women are doing within the community in terms of, entrepreneurship and the challenges that go with that and supports and that sort of thing. So
thank you a lot, because this is, almost made me cry, because that's exactly the intention behind. And thank you so much for sharing, because it's absolutely amazing what can be born when you're supported by the right community, by women, right? So, and again, like, thank you for doing this, for pursuing your dreams. And this is my mission. I tell people, follow your heart, follow your passion, and then universe will support you, people will support you, and then magic will happen. So that's pretty much why I do that. And to see this in action, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's awesome. So I want to ask you like a few questions today, just sort of dive into a couple things around entrepreneurship. So what pulled you into entrepreneurship? Like what was happening for you internally at the time that led to that?
So this is a very tricky question. So I came from my corporate job. So I love my corporate job, and this is what I did. I did business development, project management, So for me, I was very happy with my job.
Mm-hmm.
No one around me own a business. Not my friends, not my family. I didn't know entrepreneurship actually exists.
Okay.
So for me, was very natural path. So during the pandemic, I started learning about what businesses are doing in order to stay, to stay active, bring new customers, right? Because it was a huge change.
Mm-hmm.
I started learning, I started exploring. Couple of people ask me, I'm like, hey, well, let me help you. Start doing social media, and keep in mind, before that, I never posted on social media.
Okay.
Never. So for
Okay.
me, if someone told me that I would be teaching and being active on the social media on Instagram, I'm like, you must be crazy. Like, no way. So for me, it was, I don't know, whatever you believe, like universe, God, faith,
Mm-hmm.
right? It was natural, step by step. I enjoy what I'm doing. I follow what I like, what enjoy,
Mm-hmm.
and here I am, few years later,
Yeah.
sitting doing a podcast and
Right.
talking about my business.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
it was like I feel like I just didn't have any other choice.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that's how I started,
Okay.
and I definitely transform as a human being, my identity.
Mm-hmm.
That's 100% my self-worth, my confidence level, because entrepreneurship is a biggest and hardest personal growth journey. You uncover your past traumas,
Right.
you deal with your insecurities, you had to hear rejections, and at the same time you dealing with the stress, with different hats, right? You have to be a, marketer, you have to serve your clients, you have to deal with your team.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a huge, and I guess this is why maybe I'm potentially addicted because I love growing in life, and
Yes.
this is amazing. Yes, it's hard, but at the same time, it's amazing. It's upgrade your personality and identity on a completely new, different level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree with you. That definitely resonates with me what you're saying. It sounds like in a part of what you're saying is around I don't necessarily have it all figured out, right? Like having that belief and faith and trying and putting myself out there and taking the risk and taking the chance because I think speaking from my own
Yeah.
personal experience too in terms of trying to grow my business and the social media
Yeah.
piece and all these other pieces is I know I don't have it all figured out and I know I don't know how to do many of these things and yet I'm engaging and
Mhm.
putting myself out there and pushing forward in terms of like you're speaking with growth in terms of confidence and all those other pieces. What would you say about that piece, the piece around maybe not knowing all the things or even what you're saying about entrepreneurship, like you didn't really even know what that was, and yet here you are all these years later. So in terms of that piece, yeah, if you could speak to that.
Well, I recently heard a quote, and it really stuck with me. Is you make a decision and you make this right.
Mm, okay.
So, like I'm a big um I'm a big when it comes to mindset,
Hmm.
right? And I'm sure you know this as well. Our brain focus on what you let you to focus on. So, and I think that's partially what entrepreneurship is about, is being so delusional about your dreams that you making this work.
Hmm.
Um, Again, like, is it hard? Yes, definitely. But then I think when you break this down in a small steps, when you have the right support, that what makes a huge difference. At
Hmm.
the same time, when it comes to confidence, what you need to realize that confidence is this is what you build. So let's say, and I always, right, when I talk with my clients, especially imposter syndrome, the fact that you're not really sure if you're able to do it, it's not because there's something wrong and or you're incapable, because it's something new. You're supposed to feel incompetent in the beginning. Just like when when if I decided right now to sign up for marathon, and I don't even run, so please cut this.
But you could, you could, Maria.
Yeah, exactly.
We could run together.
But it's kind of the same idea, right? If I'm going to say like, hey, tomorrow I'm going to run marathon, right? So I'm not going to able to do it. The same as entrepreneurship. And this is how, if I decided that every time, no matter what, every morning I'm going to go outside, if I'm going to start running, that's how I'm going to build my physical muscles. But at the same time, this is a confidence that you build.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's what we need to realize for many people, is that it's okay to feel that you don't know something. This is how it should be. You should feel fear. You should feel something uncomfortable. That's totally normal. It doesn't mean that you're not capable of doing this.
And it's so true, right? Because what we know about confidence is it's not this, it's not this static. You're not born with it. It's not this static trait. It's as you're saying, it's like a muscle, and it's in doing the difficult things. It's in stepping outside of our comfort zone. It's in challenging ourselves. But when we don't, right, what happens is the opposite. When we don't do the thing, we reinforce, from a psychological perspective, and the neuroscience around that, right, is that we then reinforce our belief that we can't.
100%.
Right. So, and then the opposite is true, as you're saying, right, is taking these small steps and putting yourself out there and taking the action, which is how confidence is developed. And I think, in entrepreneurship, I think we can both agree it's a lot of discomfort and a lot of, oh wow, that maybe didn't go so well, or no, those moments where doubting yourself. But then, as you're saying, it's like those are the moments where, to your quote, where then you figure it out. Okay, how do I tweak this, or how do I, readjust to that? Because I think we do that constantly through life, right?
Yeah.
It's sort of, we learn and then, okay, we tweak. It's like, okay. But I think it's when we have this fixed maybe mindset, or, that we shouldn't have to, or, or that's what have you, right? Yeah. What would you say in terms of like around doubt, and, what moves you forward in these moments, or what grounds you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I just want to add another thing that just crossed my mind as we were speaking, because you mentioned the comfort zone.
Yeah.
I think last year or so, there's a thought that crossed my mind that we actually never go outside of a comfort zone.
Okay.
Because every time when you try something new, you get familiar. So the only part what's happening is that you expand your comfort zone.
Okay.
But you never go outside of your comfort zone, because as soon as you go outside of your comfort zone, it becomes your comfort zone.
You adapt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it just, I just find it a little bit fascinating, and you kind of in this loop when you try to go outside of it.
It's true, right? And then, and then you have to like shift again and do something again, right? And then I think it's always interesting, right? Have there been any moments where, you can think back and you think, oh, you know what, I really doubted myself there, and maybe if you could share what you did about that, or how you worked through it.
Absolutely. I think as entrepreneurs, and just as a human being, we always doubt ourselves. We wake up, like even today I was driving, right? This is not my first podcast, but I'm like, who I am to share my story.
Yeah.
Who would, because it's natural. We being hard on ourselves, we doubt ourselves, and it's totally normal feeling. But it all brings back to this confidence, the skills that you are building yourself. At the same time, I feel like the more hardship you have in your life, the more you overcome it, it gives you the strength that, okay, well, you're capable of doing this, So, and I think that there's a special meaning, especially I think it's in the coaching industry, right? So I don't want to say that I have very easy life. You know, I had a lot of horrible stories that I can share. But then because I took this experience and I work on myself, and then I sharing my stories, I sharing my knowledge and helping others, there is this extra special meaning behind it.
Mhm.
So, you know, coming back to this like doubt, it's definitely a confidence level. Number two is there's a few like special techniques that you can do, right, to reduce this more like this tension or anxiety and a stress.
Mhm.
You know, like for example, you know, just kind of like sit down and breathing.
Mhm.
People
Yeah.
don't really underestimate looking. Sometimes people looking for a magic pill,
Yes.
but sometimes doing something simple like breathing
Yes.
in a moment can make you feel better.
100%. Like a great one, and I've posted about this. I didn't create it, it's not mine, but the physiological side,
Yeah.
right? It lowers your heart rate, it calms you down. So in moments of distress,
Yeah.
and it's so simple, right? It's like one long breath in through the nose and then a
Yeah.
shorter one, and then through the nose and then a longer
Yeah.
exhale, and doing it 2 to 3 times. It's not, and it calms your nervous system,
Yeah.
right? And then, okay, I can feel more grounded, and then, okay, I'm ready to proceed. But I think the other thing too is, and I'm curious about your thoughts around this, I think sometimes I think we over pathologize ourselves, especially now in this day, in this modern time. And obviously, like, I work, full transparency, I
Yeah.
obviously work in the mental health field. So so but I sometimes feel like we can over pathologize ourselves and over pathologize what's quote unquote, and first of all, there's maybe no such thing as
Yeah.
normal is normal, but we can over pathologize in terms of feeling anxious or
Yeah.
feeling uncomfortable or feeling, and it's like, well, or even with stress. I mean, there's good stress and there's bad stress,
Yeah.
but okay, like this is okay. Like we can get through
Yeah.
this. And but I think sometimes we doubt ourselves, or we doubt maybe how we're responding, and we doubt how we're
Yeah.
navigating. In reality, if we stop for a moment, it's like, okay, this is a difficult thing, or I'm navigating this. Maybe this is activating, to your point, it's activating some part of a hardship or trauma that I've had, and it's distorting the lens through which I'm perceiving my efficacy or my capacity or my
Mhm.
capability. You know what I mean? And so I think it's really to check ourselves sometimes
Yeah.
and go, okay, wait, like I don't need to over pathologize. Like, let me just work through this, and let me kind of, yeah.
Exactly. No, definitely, because what we think in our head it
Hmm.
doesn't necessarily reflect our reality.
Right, exactly.
So it's self-awareness,
Hmm.
understanding why you feel this way,
Hmm.
what's going on, allowing yourself to feel in a moment, to
Hmm.
slow down,
Hmm.
because we all human being, and if you're gonna just shuffle your feeling aside, that's gonna be worse in the
Right.
future.
Yeah.
um Whatever you feel, it's normal. It's accepting that you're a human being. Okay, well, now I feel stressed, now I feel in doubt, and then asking yourself, what can I do to improve it, and what can I do to make yourself better in a moment.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, so that is so key what you just said,
Yeah.
right? Because that's it,
Yeah.
right? Is to notice, recognize, okay, validate, but the awareness also that the feeling or thought isn't necessarily representative of what's happening in terms of, I could be catastrophizing this, right? As an
Mhm.
example. So maybe I'm making that business decision seem a lot
Yeah.
worse. I'm catastrophizing, or I'm right determining outcome before I've even, well, that's just going to shut you down, right?
Yeah.
That's just going to, you're not going to then, as you said, as you were talking to earlier, expand and grow.
Yeah.
Instead, it's like, okay, notice, validate, okay, what's going on for me? What's
Mhm.
going to help me in this moment, and what do I need, and how do I move forward?
100%.
Yeah.
One of the things that I literally work so hard to overcome is when you feeling down or stressed
Hmm.
or in doubt. And I think so many people have this tendency to do that. So let's say you're stressed
Hmm.
and then you being hard on yourself, you stress about being stressed.
Right. Yeah. So you're like piling on, piling on.
Exactly.
So it exacerbates what's happening internally to your nervous system.
Exactly. And I was so guilty of doing this. While I should be strong, I should figure out I don't have time. Why am I stressed? This is not a big deal. And when I allow myself to feel in the moment and say, well, I'm a human being. Okay, just gonna pause for a second. I'm just allowed. That's okay. Whatever. Anger and just working with your emotions, right? I feel anger. I feel sadness. Just recognizing this for a second and allowing yourself to feel like that's gold.
Absolutely.
Because again, like you distress yourself just
right.
by recognizing what you feel
Yeah.
and giving yourself a grace and a laugh.
Yeah, 100%. Because what you're talking about in terms of those emotions, right, is it's information.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes, again, too, people, feel like, okay, anger is a bad emotion, and again, it's sort of, it gets the bad rap, and it's sort of, okay, well, no, well, wait a second. You're allowed to be angry. It's normal. We all feel angry sometimes. Okay, what is it about? Like, what's underneath it? What is it telling me that I need? What's happening for me? Right. And that's where, okay, we connect to understanding, and then how I move forward. How do I move through it versus, so as you said, avoid it, or like, stuff it down, right? Suppress it. Because I see some of the people who suppress the anger, right? And then long term, the negative effects of that, which can lead to relationship issues, intimacy issues, addiction issues, all sort of negative coping strategies, right? So when we suppress emotion, it's really, and I always say, we think we can, suppress it, but it's coming. It's you can suppress it today, but it's going to come for you. Like at one point, you will not be able to. It's not sustainable, right? And so instead of, to your point, right, it's like, let's figure out how. Which is all, as you're saying, it's not. It's all of us, right? Let's figure out how to notice what we're feeling, validate. Okay, regroup. What do I need? How do I move forward? Right? So.
Oh my gosh, this is a huge topic. I just love this, especially like working with emotions. And I'm sure like everyone has this moment when all of a sudden you having conversation, someone says that something that you don't really like, and all of a sudden you snapped.
Right. Yes.
Right?
Yeah, 100%.
No reason why, just because it happens, because you suppress your emotions. You didn't really work in the moment.
Right.
And me as a ex people pleaser, I had huge problem when it comes to anger.
Okay.
So because, and again, one of the something that completely changed my life, like anger allows you to tell you where your boundaries are being crossed. So for me, when I think about from that perspective, and as a someone that struggled with saying no, being a people pleaser, I'm like, anger, tell me, what's going on, right? So yeah, no, I think working with emotion and understanding yourself, everyone should do that.
Yeah, no, 100%. Because then I think the other thing too is when you say, because we all can do that, right? We can snap, or we have that, we can have that sort of maybe disproportionate reaction to, in our, in our opinion, or what have you, right? How we perceive it. I mean, that's sometimes an indicator that it goes further back. So what we say in therapy speak is, the stronger the reaction, sometimes the further back it goes.
Ooh.
Right? So it's not necessarily this time, but it's the 36 times or 46 times or 86 times. It's about all those times too.
100%.
Right? And so because memory is stored with emotion, right? So what you're feeling is familiar in terms of, as around boundary being crossed or what have you. And that reaction is much deeper. And then so I think in your work, what you're seeing with working with entrepreneurs and as in coaching, like, do you see the emotion piece coming up and I guess, how do you walk alongside them as they navigate that, or what? Yeah, I'm curious about that.
So I originally started as a business coach, but because, as I mentioned before, you need to work on yourself
Mhm.
when you own your own business. So I started learning more about psychology, manifestation, power
Yeah.
of thinking,
Mhm.
mental health, because I had to. I
Yeah.
had no other choice.
Right.
And then because I work with entrepreneurs, I had to take additional courses,
Yeah.
get certified in a life coaching
Yeah.
mindset,
Yeah.
because it's not just sometimes action and strategy, right? There is
Yeah.
always emotional piece.
Yeah.
So, and usually what I like to, when I work is, well, number one is I need to make sure I'm very, very clear. I only do it from a coaching perspective, which means that I don't really work with the
Right.
traumas,
Sure.
right? So, and I always, when I work with my clients, this is a gray area. So I just want to make sure that,
Mhm.
because it's also important to get the right support whenever you are,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
So, and then if there is an emotional part, is that providing a safe space.
Mhm.
I always remind people that I coach is that, like, it's okay what you feel. Asking in a moment, like, how can you make this better?
Mhm.
What brings you, like, what's going on?
Right.
So all this questions that we talk
Yeah.
about, that, like, why do you feel this way right now?
Yeah.
Allowing a person to slow down and a little bit reconnect with yourself.
Mhm.
So it's a space, it's a safe space,
Mhm.
and just asking the right questions, like,
Right.
okay, well, why do you feel this way, and what you can do
Mhm.
to make yourself better.
Right. Yeah. Okay. You spoke to earlier around sort of navigating your own hardships in life, and I just wonder if you want to speak
Y-
to that a little bit, just in terms of how that like
y-
shaped you and how that informs
Yeah.
you today as the woman you are today. Because in what I was hearing, so I don't want to overstep,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's almost sort of, it's like sort of, how has that helped me grow, or what have I learned
Mhm.
from it, or how does it, which I think really sets people apart from, in my world of therapy speak,
Yeah.
in terms of mental health, from falling into victim,
Yeah.
right, when we've had trauma, because there's a lot of people out there who've had like really serious trauma,
Yeah.
but then it's sort of kind of, okay, where am I at in the present, and how am I moving through life, and do I live my life through the lens of the past and
Yeah.
trauma, and or how can, what do I do about that in terms of connecting to my own sense of agency? And I wonder if you could speak to that a little bit, if that's okay, or if you feel
Yeah,
comfortable
no,
to do so.
absolutely. So I do have, just like everyone,
Hmm.
I do have my own hardships in
Right.
life,
Sure.
like growing up without dad, check
Yeah.
mark,
Uh-huh.
losing my mom very early,
Uh-huh.
check mark, being was in a toxic relationship, check mark, was diagnosed with autoimmune disease. It's pretty much impact me daily, and I had
Mm.
to deal with the daily pain, check mark.
Okay.
Luckily, I'm in remission, everything is
Okay.
good. So, being victim of a crime, check mark. So, being my heart was broken, check mark. I feel like there has been so many check marks that I can definitely relate to so many of my clients.
Hmm.
Um, not being very inconfident about my own body and my image,
Hmm.
check mark. So
Hmm.
all this, a lot,
Hmm.
like,
Yeah.
when I have to, like, just overcome and work on myself, luckily not at the same time.
Yes. Yeah. Right.
Thanks for
Let's be
that.
clear. Yes. Yes, for sure. Yeah.
But actually, there was a moment in my life where, so I was engaged in a long-term relationship in a month. At that time, I live in Toronto. So pretty much in a month, I lost a job, which
Hmm.
I was there for 4 years. I ended my engagement. I packed my stuff in Toronto, moved back to Ottawa, and then my autoimmune condition was acting up. So like,
Surprise.
yeah,
I'm surprised that was right.
You're
Yeah.
right. It all happened in the months, and
Yeah.
you just sometimes you don't really know how strong you are until you face this. So it definitely shaped me. It gives me this confidence,
Yes.
right? I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well, throw at me anything, at this point,
Yeah.
I will figure out.
Yeah.
So this is believe that I'm able and capable
Yeah.
of dealing with any situation in my life, and I'm able to figure out the solution in a way. But also, I wanted to say that in a moment, I was really a victim. In the terms of a victim, had a victim mindset.
Okay.
So I really had to work on my mindset to switch this victim mindset.
Okay.
And to take in control of my own life, making make a hard decisions, having a hard conversation, changing a little bit my career. So it's being a victim. Yes, of course, there's a few things I couldn't control, like for example, losing my mom very early, but there's a few things that's how I can approach to this, right? Instead of crying and being depressed, and that what happened, right? So I decided to choose different path. I decided to get help. I decided to learn and understand what's been going on. And it's been a journey of developing my mindset. Right now I own my decision. I make choices that feels good, even that sometimes it's hard.
Right.
For example, I would probably never gonna end up in a toxic relationship again in my life, just because I learned how to communicate. I learned how to set boundaries.
Yeah.
I fully understand what I'm looking for in a life. But because I gained this experience, now I'm able to set my own standards, what I'm looking for. So by sometimes people come to me is like, I don't really know what I want. And the easiest exercise is that, okay, well, what you don't want. So, and that's what showed me, right? As I was going through some of the obstacles, I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to have this life. I don't like my life. I don't really like myself. How can I improve it? How can I myself be better? It's a difficult journey, but the more you work on yourself, the better your life become. But you just need to, I never recommend to do anything by yourself. I think this is one of the biggest mistakes people do, that they isolate.
Yeah.
And why do you make this yourself harder for yourself? We live in this amazing time when there's so many resources and support available. You even don't have to pay sometimes. There's like free resources available.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Just go and get the support. But people have a hard time to actually ask for help.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I think for me, I see that as sort of, what's underneath that, or what is getting in their way. And I think sometimes it's layered, right? It's not just one answer, but sometimes it's really getting to a place where they, as you're talking about, where you value what you need and value who you are and feel, and not that they shouldn't, but some people don't feel worthy of accessing support or even accessing connection, or sometimes people are hyper independent, right? So they don't, it's the fear of rejection or fear of abandonment that prevents them from reaching out and accessing support, or allowing someone in, or feeling vulnerable, because that feels really scary. But I think what you're sharing, right? It's the lessons we learn about ourselves and how we get to know ourselves as we move through life, and recognizing and seeing what we don't want and what we do want. And I think for me, I see people, that the peace that comes with when we're living in ways where there's congruence between kind of who I am and what I need and my actions, right? Am I living in a way that, and flowing in a way through life where kind of I can connect to the parts of myself that I'm able to know at this time, right? Because I think as we evolve and grow, we different parts of ourselves become, we become aware, we become connected
Yeah.
to, and so I think we can only know what we know in the time
Yeah.
where we're at. We sort of have to meet ourselves where we're at in life. But I think it is that, right? It's sort of, connecting with, who I am and what I need and what lives, how do I live in a way that is a reflection of that, as opposed to in opposition to it,
100%.
Yeah.
And I just want to probably to share, whoever's going to be watching or listening.
Mm-hmm.
So if you struggle in some areas of your life, I just want to remind you, and I think you heard it so many times, you don't have to do it alone. So there's a sign. You either like your life or you don't like your life. And sometimes you can don't like everything. Sometimes there's a small pieces. So I just want to remind you that you're not supposed to live a life where you struggle, where you feel unworthy, where you blame yourself. That's not how it should be. So if you don't really feel comfortable talking to people, there is many resources online where you can read and understand. So I just want to remind you, these people, I know you have heard this so many times, but here's a sign. If you don't really like it, you're able to change. You're able to change and turn around your life. 180, 360, how do you say it in English? Like,
Yeah.
all of this, right?
There isn't one right way,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
That's the
yeah.
thing.
But even you change like by 10%, be good.
Even 10 degrees.
Yeah, 10 degrees. Yeah.
Or 20. But it's so true, because there isn't any right. And I always say that too with people. It's not about the seismic shift, right? It's not about, because seismic shifts can be really tricky in terms to integrate, so sometimes it's about, how do I move the needle just a little bit, or like 5%, or right, what are things that that may do that for myself versus because I mean, yes, sometimes we need to sort of make drastic changes, but I think for most people it's like, okay, how do I keep what's sustainable and what can I be consistent at? I mean, you must see that with the people you coach, right? Is it about kind of helping them do things consistently in terms of like working towards goals? Because, or what would you say about that? I guess is consistency a factor in people in entrepreneurship and the people you're coaching, whether for yourself or for others? Yeah.
Well, consistency definitely increase your chance
Okay.
to be successful. That's 100%. But it's also about taking small steps in the action.
Okay.
I feel like anxiety, this is just unreleased energy, which stuck in your body. But as soon as you make effort, you could feel easiness a little bit.
Yeah.
That's what I would mention when it comes to like coaching. And I do believe, so I'm very, when it comes to coaching, I like to use a lot of science behind it, and I like to study brain and how it works. But I'm also a very spiritual person.
Okay.
So I have done so many different things, like, work on the chakras. This is like nothing. Like, for example, like, I stand on a nails, like real nails. But,
oh my gosh.
For 1 hour.
What?
Yeah.
Whoa.
This is spiritual practice. I remember once I did Vipassana, which is 10 days silent meditation.
Yes, I've thought about doing that. I don't know if I could be silent for 10 days.
Well, I can share about experience.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, right? I believe that I like to work with the science, but at the same time, I also like to work with some of the sometimes, like, I don't say not energy, but a little bit more not traditional approach, right?
And non-Western.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And when it comes to like all this anxiety and consistency in a action, is reconnecting with yourself, asking who you are, what do I want in a moment. You are only able to do that when you sit down and slow down.
Yeah.
And when I coach, this is a main reason. Like, I sit down and I challenge you and I mention, okay, well,
Mhm.
let me provide a different perspective.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
why, did you notice that, you keep mentioning this sentence all the time, but
Mhm.
you even don't really pay attention. Like,
Yeah, noticing
the
the
pattern.
pattern.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And I think you did that, but circling back to the questions you did with your networking event
yeah.
that I attended. I think that was at least how I understood it as sort of the intention around it as well is sort of let's slow down,
Mm-hmm.
let's like ask ourselves the question.
Yeah.
And some of they were it was a bit uncomfortable, right? To sort of go, oh, like I have to think about that, right? Like, and I think, and in my field as well, it is about that, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
therapy is really, at least how I work, is really this combination of nurture, nudge.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to be empathic and compassionate and the people I work with, but also it's not a fireside chat, right? We have to sort of go, can we look at this together? Like, what's this uncomfortable thing, or what's this pattern that we're noticing
Yeah.
that's sort of getting in the way or impacting your quality of life or impacting relationships? Like, what are we noticing? And then to ask, like, okay, what is your accountability piece in that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's confronting, right? Like, what do you need to own? What is your part in terms of, it's like you're saying you want this.
Yeah.
Okay, are you doing the things to support yourself in getting there? And I'm sure probably you see
Mm-hmm.
that with people that you work with, right? It's confronting and
Yeah.
engaging in that to say, okay, this is what you're saying where you want to go in terms of growing, or this
Yeah.
is the pain point. Are we doing things to shift it?
100%.
You know?
100%.
Yeah.
So my framework is, especially when it comes to mindset,
Mm-hmm.
getting clear what you want,
Mm-hmm.
identity upgrade,
Okay.
so, and then taking action, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say if you want to be a healthy person,
Mm-hmm.
one, and actually it was like very wonderful and wise at one point that I heard, like, for example, when I struggled with my mental health, and there was a days when I just couldn't get out of bed because I was so in pain. And then there's like advice that I heard, okay, well, don't spend time on these sometimes Facebook groups
Mm-hmm.
that talking about your health condition.
Mm-hmm.
Because at that moment, and again, there's like pros and cons, you have to like really uh, you really have to make decisions for yourself what makes sense in a point. Because, like, let's say when I joined this, when I was first diagnosed, and when I joined, it was very, very super helpful because I learned about my condition and
Right.
how to deal with this.
Right.
But at one point I had to step back and completely go away from these groups because I felt more depressed and stressed
Okay.
with so many people sharing
Right.
their stories and their struggles. And I remember, okay, well, if you want to be healthy, act as a healthy person, right? So
Mm-hmm.
join these Facebook groups that talk about like working out and eating healthy,
Mm-hmm.
because that's how you identity a little bit
Right.
upgrades,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
and so that's pretty much
Yeah.
knowing what you want, what kind of mindset you need to work on, and what kind of identity you need to
Yeah.
develop for yourself, and taking action, creating this routine, creating these habits for yourself.
Yes, yes, yeah. Because I think, and you're speaking to, I think it's such a critical piece here around, and I see this in practice too, is sort of if we over identify with certain things, right? Like if that becomes my whole identity, right? It's the difference
Yeah.
between, you know, I navigate anxiety versus I am or I have, right? It's internal versus external, right? It's sort of, okay, I navigate this, but is it my whole identity, right? Even with a, autoimmune condition, or
Yeah.
replace that with anything, right?
Yeah.
Even kind of how we're talking about victim mindset today as well, right? It's if I over identify and that becomes part of my identity, how does that affect my mindset? How does that affect
Yeah.
my thoughts, my emotions, and then thus my behavior? Right?
100%.
There's a whole, knock-on effect. So, while not invalidating self too, right? Because we don't want to, it's like, okay, yes, I deal with this, but it's not all of me. It is a facet that I navigate. But I think, to your
Yeah.
point, like if we over identify or we go down that rabbit hole, of like social media and it's sort of, okay,
Yeah.
what am I taking in? Like, what am I internalizing? What am
Yeah.
I absorbing? Right. And then that comes back to, as I was saying earlier, right? Where is my accountability piece
Yeah.
in how I want to feel and how I want to live my life, you know, and what I want to achieve, kind of thing.
Absolutely. And it's very interesting as a human being that if we promise ourselves, we most likely gonna break our promises
Mhm.
versus when we promise someone else, there's a higher chance that you're gonna do it.
Mhm.
Like imagine for a second, like good analogy. Let's say if you work a corporate job, even though you don't want it, you still
Right.
go there 9 to 5.
Right. Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
because you have this accountability.
Yeah.
But if you promise yourself
Yeah.
to work out every evening,
Mhm.
most likely you're not gonna do that
Mhm.
because that's just interesting human being
Behavior.
nature, you
Yeah.
know.
For
So
sure. For sure. For sure. Okay. So where do you kind of moving on, where do you see yourself 2 years from now?
yeah, I saw this question in this.
You know, do you like this question or no?
Yeah, no, I'm totally
Okay.
cool. But it's you know, when I saw this question
Yeah.
before, because this kind of question that make you think about it.
Yes,
Right?
yeah. I think you may have asked something similar to this in the women's group potentially. Or
So
something, or no, it was in the one
next month.
Yes.
There's a difference between next month and the 2 years.
Oh, do we want to change it to a year or do
No,
it?
it's fine. It's fine. So I love vision boards and I always do this exercise.
Okay.
So I just was surprised by 2 years.
Okay.
You know, like so
So
when
random.
when we see like it's, you know, usually it's like, you know, few months, 1 year, like 5 months or 5 years, right? And it's like 2 years. I'm
That's really random.
yeah. I'm like, but no, it's totally it's a great question, to be honest. And so number one is I definitely want to grow my marketing agency. So
Mhm.
I want to have more clients.
Mhm.
With decisions I have to make for myself, which I haven't really decided if I want to strictly focus on Canadian business
Okay.
or if I want to go to US because
Okay.
it's a much bigger scale.
Right.
So I think I make decision internally for myself
Yeah.
to go only with Canadian business, but I
Mhm.
just need to process this. So I definitely want to scale my marketing agency to have more people in my team
Okay.
because there's a special extra meaning when I can say to myself, okay, well, because I hire people, they're able to feed their own families, and that's
Yeah. Yeah.
makes this something extra
Mhm.
special. So definitely want to expand my marketing agency. I want to do more speaking, more podcasts because I love sharing my knowledge, even though my English isn't great, but still that. Well, that's another thing that I have to overcome, right? Because thank you. I know, but at the
Mhm.
same time, right? You have this mindset,
Yeah,
right?
that's in
You
your
have
head.
to be
That's in your
perfect
head.
speaker.
Uh-huh. But even someone as an English speaker is not a perfect speaker, meaning
Yeah, I know, but
right.
again, this is like
Yeah, just that's the lens through which you're
yeah,
which is distorted.
exactly,
Just to
exactly.
tell you, it's a distorted, right? But we do that, but it's sort of to check it and recognize it and go. And I think it's to put a loved one in your shoes or put a bestie
Yeah,
in your shoes to say, what would you say to her if she were
yeah,
to say that,
100%,
right? If she's saying the same thing you were saying right now, what would you say to her?
100%.
What would you say to her if she was saying that right now?
Well,
If she was
it's
saying,
yeah,
if she was saying my English is, I made that sort of disparaging comment about herself, what would you say to her?
well, depending on how close,
Right.
right?
Sure.
So
But like a bestie,
if bestie, or if that's bestie, I would be very honest and gonna say, hey, you potentially need to work on your English because let's say
Yeah.
when you're a professional
Right.
speaker and you get paid to speak,
Right.
you need to up level your skills. And I'm
Okay.
being very, very honest about it,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
But when it comes to just general conversation, I think it's totally okay to make mistakes. And I think
Right.
I have good English
Yes.
and it, you know, it brought me where I am today. So no
Right.
complaints here.
Yeah.
but I also want to acknowledge as building a business as an immigrant and using different language other than native, it's extra stress and extra difficulties.
Yeah.
So not like I totally understand where you're coming from. 100% agree. It's kind of belief that I still have, and a little bit doubting myself. Okay, well, my English maybe not as good. Maybe I should improve it. But at the same time, it's every time when I speak, every time when I shop in front of a camera, right? It's this extra effort, so that's just, it is what it is, as an immigrant.
It's this extra added layer.
Yeah.
I hear that. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And I think, as I like to say, or not, it's not me that's saying this, but in terms of like two things can be true at the same time, right? Two things can coexist at the same time in what you're saying. And so I think that's super, thank you for sharing that perspective. I appreciate that. Okay, now this is a doozy question.
So,
Do you want me to ask you a doozy question at the last question?
yeah, I'm okay. I just have so many thoughts when it comes to my 2 years vision.
Oh, sorry. Yes, okay, we'll go back because we can edit this part out. But yes, go, because we skipped over that a little bit.
Because I'm very ambitious.
Yeah, we skipped over that a little bit. Okay, let's go back to that.
So definitely scale my marketing agency. So doing more speaking, event, podcast. So I want to build, grow in my community when it comes to women. And I actually would like to potentially create this more a little bit educational, more educational master classes, workshops.
Okay.
So actually women has access, and it's probably first time, but I'm gonna share.
Ooh, she's dropping it like it's hot. It's like it's coming to you live right now.
Yeah. Of course, I'm gonna like keep doing my business coaching, but I have some ideas about opening another layer of my business when it comes to a product-based business.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna share all details.
Yes.
But the idea is that it will be product-based, and definitely gonna have this extra layer of support and motivation for women to pursue their goals and their dreams. So it's very, very, very early. I still haven't even fully processed, but I know it's come to me as a vision, and I feel like it's just matter of a time when that's gonna happen, because let me tell you, my hands are pretty full.
It sounds like, and what you shared today, I mean, you have a very full life, and as an entrepreneur and as a woman and in the community, it sounds like, again, when I was at that event, your networking event, I really got a sense just in listening is how connected you are within the community in terms of supporting other women, and just people were speaking of you and that sort of thing. So it makes sense to hear you say my hands are full, and also you have capacity to create. And because I think that's the thing, right? When we get excited about something and we have this like passion and there's energy and it percolates. And I think I want to circle back to that point, is because that resonates with me. You don't have to have it all figured out, because that's how I operate too. It's sort of, I'm a bit of fear, a bit of uncertainty, and I don't have it all figured out. And also, this is kind of where I'm taking my idea, not in a reckless or careless way. I don't mean that, but in just like, I'm going to figure it out. Like kind of what you said about the quote, right? I'll figure it out, right? Even with this podcast studio. Wasn't not really still figuring it out, and as I go, but it was that type of idea. I knew that I wanted to do it. Okay, I have to like, let's make it happen, and some of these things will come together as things unfold. So
100%.
Very excited to see what comes, what is coming for you next on your horizon as this next business adventure, this other added component, how it takes shape, and what you do with it.
Thank you. And I just one more thing, because you brought such a good, I think this is kind of more like a common theme where you just figure out what else around it, that you don't need to justify your dreams to yourself. If you want to get it,
Okay.
Because when we start overthinking
Yeah.
and start questioning ourselves,
Yeah.
this is why we shut down most of our dreams.
Yeah. Is that a quote that you read, or that's just something from yourself, Maria, like in terms of that you feel like
This is my core belief, and
belief?
this is how
Wow.
I started living, because
Yeah.
you don't need to justify, and this is what I
Yeah.
learned, and I think that's the last 2-3 years I made few changes in my business because that just feels right in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And like, for example, at one point, I think 3 years ago, I completely shut down my business coaching.
Mm-hmm.
This is when I started adding mindset, and this is
Okay.
when I started building women's community, because I couldn't do
Okay.
it. I couldn't do it at all the same time.
Right.
And I decided, okay, well, just gonna shut down my business coaching for a while. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just gonna focus on the mindset, which is kind of was super weird, very like, of course I had to sit down with this before making this decision.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
I'm like, at that moment, like, why am I doing this? But it just felt right at the moment, and what it led me is like, okay, well, I added mindset component to me.
Mm-hmm.
But at that time, it was like I follow my gut.
Yeah.
So that's why I like this idea. You don't need to justify your dreams for yourself. If you
Yeah.
want something deeply in your gut, in your heart, don't ask yourself why.
Uh-huh.
Just go for it.
Just like trust and believe,
Yeah.
like trust that sort of your gut sense and allow it.
Yeah.
Because I think to what you're, and maybe what you're also saying, I hear is sort of, because when you do that, you can
Back up.
yeah, like step away from it or demotivate
Yeah.
or shrink away from it,
Yeah.
and convince yourself that you shouldn't,
Yeah.
right? I really like that. There's something kind of exciting and empowering and freeing in that
Yeah.
statement that you're making, right? Like, because I think we all do that. I mean, I think I'm guilty of that sometimes where I think, oh, I could have, I needed to do this sooner. And maybe,
Yeah.
it's not, maybe I shouldn't be doing this now, or maybe, like all these doubts and questions, right, about it. And maybe this isn't, and then it's that process, right? Then I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, no, I need to justify it now. I need to convince myself that it's okay. It's like, okay, wait, what?
Yeah.
So I think that's,
I'm gonna write this down. You don't need to justify your dreams. Okay. So actually, this is my quote
to yourself.
to yourself.
Yeah, that's
You
yeah.
don't just
to
you
yourself.
don't need to justify your dreams for yourself.
Yeah,
To
to yourself. Yeah. Yeah. Do that.
Yes.
Okay. Well, awesome. I just want to ask you sort of any, closing thoughts today, or any kind of takeaways, or any as we close out the podcast today.
Okay, well, now I have very high expectations after telling about justifying your dreams. Okay, let me think in a moment that's gonna come to my mind, because again, I also believe when you listen in your inner words inside you, sometimes words just come to me. So let me think. I think we covered a lot of good points when it comes to learning confidence today, going outside your comfort zone. We touched based on this topic today, but this is my final closing thought when it comes to don't be very hard on yourself.
Okay.
You are a human being. You're allowed to make mistakes. What's important is that you don't connect outcome and results of your action to your own self-worth. Because, like, let's say, yeah, if you fail, it doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It doesn't mean, you're not capable, there's something wrong with you. So I think it's important to separate this both, and at the same time, you're the one that decide when you fail and when you succeeded. And a moment when you tell yourself that you fail, this is a moment that you actually tell. You never know how it's gonna work out, and I love to believe, this is my motto, that it's just gonna work out better than I ever imagined.
There's that openness, and again, I think it comes back to that belief
Yeah.
and felt sense that is so, so
Yeah.
important for all of us. to really trust the self and that knowing, yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing your time with me today. It's been lovely. Hope to have you back on again, maybe when we fill the other seats and have more great conversations amongst women in the community. But I want to thank you so much for coming today. It's been a real pleasure having you on.
Thank you so much for having me. Same here. It was great.